Hello, this is Crypto CJ. It's a trade of the day, Monday afternoon slash evening Zoom edition. And we had a nice pump yesterday of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then a drop today. Looks like could be another Bart Simpson type look on the charts, depending on the time frame. Looking like a short squeeze for people involved in trades like that. So let's go to the charts. All right, should be seeing my Bitcoin day chart.
Yes.
All right, we are still in this range. Here's the pump we had on Sunday, went up to 28K. In the wee hours of the morning, went all the way up to about 28, almost 600, and then a big drop. And we will see the 30-minute chart. Yeah, here's good old Bart. Yeah, kind of like this. Not a perfect structure, but pump up, then a more of a gradual pump, and then sort of sideways and down. So it wouldn't surprise me if we came back down here and tested 27K and then hopefully bounced off that and made our way towards 30.
Any thoughts on what sort of caused that pump?
I looked through my newsletters. There was one that I thought was a bit of a stretch, that the U.S. Congress and the president did pass a short-term spending bill, which averted the government shutdown, which means the SEC offices are going to be open, presumably to review and potentially approve the ETFs, both Bitcoin and Ethereum, that have been submitted. And obviously, those would be a really nice boost for the market overall. Quick review on ETFs. That's a way that people who mostly trade stocks and mutual funds and things like that can get some exposure to crypto. Bitcoin and Ethereum, and large institutions have submitted those ETF proposals to the SEC, and they've dragged their feet and been sort of hostile and or indifferent to those proposals. But the courts have said, do your job, and hopefully they do by the end of the year or early next year. So
Yeah, I can't see how that would cause a pump because the SEC are just renowned for either doing what they want or dragging their feet.
and then the short squeeze would be another one. But if market makers were trying to make it so that people with short positions were squeezed out and had to buy to cover those shorts, I don't think either of those explanations are ideal. So I don't have that's the
It
closest I can come to answering your question, Craig.
Well, yeah, it did happen right on the opening of the Asian market, I think it
Okay.
was. So on Monday morning. So um could have been an intentional play by the markets,
Yeah,
the
I mean,
big
we got this
players.
big candle here of 2.5% in a half an hour on Bitcoin at 3 p.m. Pacific time Sunday. But yeah, I think that would coincide with Monday morning opening in Asia. So if I
Yeah,
remember my time differences correctly.
I'm pretty sure it was the Asia opening.
Yeah, because depending on where you are in Asia, I think it's about 16 hours ahead of where I am in Pacific time. So 3 p.m. would be about 7 a.m. the next day. Yeah, give or take. All right, well, that's where we are in the markets overall. Ethereum looks kind of similar. Big pump yesterday, drop today. Let's go to a smaller time frame. Yeah, it hasn't held up as well as Bitcoin has. Bitcoin, you know, shot up and it's held at least some of the gains, where Bitcoin's given them all back and then dropped even more down to 1650. It had hit 1750, getting closer to that 1850 area where we have this range drawn. And we were in this range quite a while over the summer, so we'll see if we can get back to that fairly soon. Okay, any other questions or comments about the markets overall before we go to Altcoin Alert, see if we can find some trades? Okay. I'm on Altcoin Alert. I use this primarily to find coins that are moving in my day trading. I have noticed in the Slack group for Altcoin Alert that Alan is back, posting a lot. He's more of a big picture trader than I am, and looking for more longer term swing trades. But it's great to see him posting in that group again. So I highly encourage you to look at the Slack group, and if you are interested in that type of trading, short to medium to swing trading isn't really well defined, but check out what he's posting in there. He has some nice setups. For me, I'm just looking to get 1% on 10x leverage, and that's what I use this for. But if you're trading spot, hopefully what we can talk about here can help you, peel off 2-3% wins and pile those up and increase your balance that way. So that's the focus of my Zoom calls. Obviously we talked about the market overall earlier, so that's more relevant to some longer term things, but it's a good idea what the overall market is doing before you consider day trading. So let's get started. I am on the altcoin radar setting, so I want all the information. I'm going to reload. And the first sort's going to be by AA score. I'm looking for values 80 and higher, and sometimes I'll go 78, 79 if it's a coin I like. I'm not that familiar with really any of these, but I did look at Rune this morning. Thorchain is at 79.7 at the moment. That means Altcoin is telling us that there's a 79.7% chance that Rune is going to go up 3% or more in the next 48 to 72 hours. So if you're looking for a short term spot trade, this could be a good choice for you. Let's go to the Rune chart and check it out. Look at the 5-minute chart first. We're going to look for a 1, 2, 3 dip type setup. And we had a significant dip sequence here this morning, kind of gone sideways from there. Had I been taking trades, I was a little late today. I might have gotten in something like this. Not sure. I'll show you in more detail on the 15-minute chart in a moment. I think a good entry could be this zone here being in the green. This is the supply and demand visible range indicator by LuxAlgo. You might want to add that to your charts to help you define the ranges. I tend to do this more on the 15 than the 5. At the moment, we're not in a dip sequence on the 5. We're above the SMA line, which is between these two green lines, which are Bollinger Bands. And this is not a really good entry. So I'm going to go, well, first we'll talk about a price alert. You can set that around here where we see support. Maybe $1.93, $1.94 would be a good place to set that type of alert. Right click there and type in whatever you want to call the alert name. I usually use the information source, which is an AA score purchase. And notifications. I like to be notified in the app, pop up on my desktop computer and play a sound also on my desktop computer. And I like the chirpy sound. So that's how you do that. I'm not going to do that because I prefer indicator alerts on the 15-minute chart.
Hey CJ, what was that indicator you mentioned for the range? Identify the range.
Supply and demand visible range by LuxAlgo.
Okay.
Yeah, if you click your indicators here on TradingView, type in supply and demand. I've got it starred, but look for the LuxAlgo one here. And there's a daily one as well. I looked at that. I like this one better. So that's where you find that. And we're also going to be talking about the RTI, the relative trend index. You can find that here. We use this one by Zellerman. Yeah, that's the one we'll talk about that in a moment. That's how you find that. Okay, so if you're on my Friday call or if you saw that replay, you'll see that I've made some changes in my charts. I've kicked off the RSI. I'm using this RTI instead. I think it's a little bit more precise. It's more trend based, and I've had some difficulty with trading with divergence and the super trend. I still like those indicators, but for now I've set them aside and I've been working on this RTI. I have had some success with the RSI catching pumps and dumps, and we'll be talking about how to do that on the RTI in a moment. So what I'm looking for on the RTI on the trend side is something that's coming up from the bottom and crossing the midline, which is the 50 value, or coming down from the top and crossing the 50. In that situation, I would take a short. The first situation I described, I would take a long. So here's an example of it. Pull out my vertical line. We've got a cross right here, Saturday night, and it dipped a little bit and then shot up 1.5%. For me, I'm just looking for 1% on 10x leverage. So that would have been a win for me. If you're trading spot, you might want to go back, see where the resistance is, which I identify right about here, around $2.01 or 202, give or take. And so in that scenario, maybe it goes against you at first. Maybe you do an additional purchase down here, and you get it 202 right about here. So you pick up almost 3.5% in less than a day. That's a good day trade. And then on the short side, we get a drop over here and it crosses the midline. I don't think this one's going to work as well because we had that big pump. So probably get in about here, but it goes back up. I probably would have done an additional purchase or two in this vicinity and then broken even right about here, give or take. So my first two trades would have been successful. I would have had a small loss. Actually, the first one would have been the small loss, and the second two would have been successful. And then another cross on the downside here. It still would have been in the former trade. And then we get a cross up. So we catch this big move. But it's sort of bouncing around the midline. It's kind of frustrating when that happens because your alerts will go off and
in here.
So that's not the ideal. It's better when you get these types of moves, obviously, pumps above the 50 and then shoots up like something like this. So this can catch those type of moves. And how you set an alert for that is really easy. Right click on your RTI anywhere in here. Alert on RTI. And the first one that comes up is the RTI crossover. And there's a few other options as well, but you can do the cross under if you're just looking for a short. Crossover will go off on both situations, I believe. And once per bar close, so it goes on, it keeps going until you turn it off. AA score purchase and notifications, yeah, something like this. And there you go. I've already got this one on, so I'm not going to set it again. And then on our 80-20, when you get a big move above the 20 or above the 80 and then it drops down, that happens right about here. That's when you can look for a short. So yeah, I would have gotten in right about here and then wow. Plus I'm also using this visible range for confirmation. So assuming that it would have been at this point when I'm looking at this, that would have been a perfect entry. It's coming out of the red zone, and then it crosses the 80 line. So I've got confirmation I'm good to go. So that would have been a really nice move down. Okay. Any question? Well, let me do an alert on this as well. Right click on the RTI. And if we want to go both directions, we're going to enter a channel. 80 on the top, 20 on the bottom, once per bar close, and call it what you want. If you're trading spot and you only want to go long, then we're going to be crossing up, and your value will be 20. So that'll help you get good entries on the bottom of the range. Okay, any questions on Rune? Okay, let's see what else we can find. So that was the AA score sort. Let's try social activity. And I'm looking to match up social activity with trading activity. You can hover over the question marks to read what those specifically are looking for. Funfair is an older one. This might be on. It's on Binance, Uniswap, MEXC. It's not on anything I trade, so I don't think I'm going to do that one. IOTEX, it's another one. Rune is there. We've already looked at that. XYO, it's a pretty good mover sometimes for a spot trade. I think it's on Coinbase. Tomo, Chainlink. Let's look at Link. That one's been moving lately. But it's down a bit today. Okay, a quick look at the 5. It's just sort of trending down. We have a bubble. We have a squeeze and a bubble here. 1, 2, 3. There's about a 4th dip. But this structure concerns me. It's just falling down like this. But this could potentially be a good entry. It's at the bottom of the zone. It's already gone through some dips. You may want to consider that. On the 15. We are in the red zone. I think if this on the 15-minute, if this came back up above the 20 with some strength, maybe some confirmation on the squeeze momentum, we're already in the green zone. This could be a potential entry in the next, I don't know, 15 to 90 minutes. So we might want to keep an eye on that one. Okay, let's look at values going above the 50. This one dropped below the 50 here. You caught that move down. It went above the 50 here, which would not have done that well. You would have had to make additional purchases. Yeah, that would have been similar to the one we looked at before. I probably would have made 2 additional purchases and then gotten out here with 1 small loss and 2 nice wins. So we get a pump above the 20 here. Similar situation. Sorry, I should be evaluating above the 50. The 50 is this dotted white line. So it's a pretty good entry here. If you're looking for a scalp. Yeah, 1.5%. That would have been a win for me. If you're looking at, say, at this area for resistance, this red line, you're probably still in that trade on a spot trade. Another pump above the 50 here. Probably goes off. Yeah, that one's not so good. I'd still be in that trade probably. Trying to work my way out of it. We have a drop below the 50 here, and it catches that move down. So, and we're still lingering in this red zone at the moment. So on the 50, it's sort of hit and miss. On the 80-20, pretty similar. And then we don't have any. That might have triggered this one here. Just barely goes above the 80 and then drops down. So this would have been a really good entry on a short. I don't think this one would have triggered. Yeah, that falls short. That goes up to about 78. Yeah. So not bad. Not bad on this for both the crossing 50 and the 80-20 option. Any questions on Link? Okay, let's see. So that was social activity. I also like long-term sentiment, and that matched that up with the Elder Impulse Daily. So that's similar to this with sentiment, and what the trading activity is. This is sentiment with a technical indicator. So on the bullish, Bitcoin SV up 18%. That one might be played out. Render is one I looked at this morning, and I made a trade on it successfully earlier today. So I'll bring that one up. Okay, at the moment, mostly going sideways. Maybe you get in around here at 168. Wait for a little dip back. Do your price alert here. 168, 169. We're pretty close to that now. Let's go to the 15. Okay, we just hit this zone last night. It's been drifting down since then. Let's match that up to the RTI. So we have a pump here. Obviously, that's a nice move up. And it doesn't drop again below the 50 until here. And it's a fake out. So probably get in here. Yeah, I would have gotten in here, made an additional purchase, and caught this move down, probably be out right about there. And then it hangs around above the 80 until on the 80-20 option, we get a better entry here. And then it slowly works its way down. So that would have been a win for me. We just had render an alert go off on the RTI on the 80-20. So it dipped below the 20 and then came up a little bit to trigger this alert. So, you know, you have a decision to make. I took one of these earlier because it looked like it was staying above this midline. I like to take longs better if they're down in the green zone or coming out of the green zone. So this one isn't ideal. Leave it up to you if you want to look at it and maybe get in on this trade, but I'm going to pass on it for now. Okay. Any questions on render? All right, so we've done three different sorts on Altcoin Alert. I think I'm going to head over to iCoinPro and we'll look at a couple over there. Now, iCoinPro is doing something interesting. They have this new trading portal, but it hasn't quite worked for me. So I need to do some more research on it, see if I can make it work for the way I like to trade. If you're in iCoinPro, you might want to check it out yourself. There's some instructional videos, but they seem to be more along the lines of an introduction than a how-to. So I need to do a little more work on that. In the meantime, I'm going to use the RSI SPY, which was one of my favorite diagnostic tools to find trades and coins to follow. We've had quite a few dip below the 30 value on the RSI when I was more focused on the RSI than the RTI. You might recall I was looking for values below 30 to come back up on the long side and to go above 70 and dip back down on the short side. So I can sort this for longs, or if I click here, I can sort it for shorts, looking for values at 70 and above. But we have mostly potential longs at the moment, dips below the 30 value, and quite a few. So Ocean I trade quite a bit, Jasmy from time to time, Sand, Theta. I think Theta is the one I set up this morning. Curve a little bit, IOTA a little bit, GRT a little bit, Tron. Let's look at Ocean. So had a pump and then it's crashing hard. So on the 5-minute, we're probably going to be in a dip sequence. Yeah. So we've got our squeeze and our bubble. One, we count this. Yeah, it does happen just after the squeeze, and then the big bubble happens. So we'll count this one here. 1, 2, 3. So maybe you get in right here. That's about 45 minutes ago. And you'd be up a little bit had you done that. So we're in the midst of a dip sequence and recovery. Might be something good to evaluate. Go to our 15-minute chart. We're in the green zone, and I want to see this come above the 20 to show me that it's got potential to come back before I get in. So we'll be looking for that. I might go ahead and set up an alert on that. So yeah, I'll go ahead and set up an 80-20 alert. Entering channel 80, 20. Once per bar close is RSI SPY. And yeah, I'll keep it with that chirpy. All right, so on our values going above and below the 50, let's pull out the vertical line. Got dip below 50 here, and it eventually works out. This would have been a wild ride. Probably would have gotten in right about here. Ocean's not moving as much as I thought it would. That's not even a 4% move. So I probably would have had one additional purchase and gotten out, in this vicinity here. But if you stayed in on a short, yeah, you could have ridden that, could have stayed in, kept riding it down. On a long, we get a cross up here above the 50 and a nice move up. And then it comes back down below the 50 here. And you catch that move down. So both the 50 and the 80-20 approaches are working on this. So Ocean looks pretty good at the moment for trading both directions. Any questions on Ocean? Okay, let's look at one more. Let's look at something that's a little more aggressive. Yeah, Jasmy. Let's look at that one. What happens is some of these altcoins, start out, they get listed on some of these bigger exchanges, and they're really aggressive, moving like 5-10%. I love that. And then they get more established. Next thing you know, they're, let's look at the Bollinger Band here. Yeah, 3% between the Bollinger Bands. Not bad. especially since it's starting to squeeze together. But, in the past, if you looked at the data on Jasmy, say, 4 to 6 months ago, this would have been 8 to 10%. Okay, currently got a big drop here, but one dip, two dips. We never get a third dip on this one. So this is where my approach is a little better than the being hardcore in the 1, 2, 3 dip. When this starts to come back up, break above the 20, then I probably get in around here with something with some momentum heading up out of the green zone. Try to get my 1%. And then if you're a spot trader, you might want to try to get up in this range where the resistance is. Or you could settle for one of these smaller resistance areas. I'd probably go for this one here, 3%. That's where I'd go for this on a spot trade. Got a little ahead of myself. Let's go to the vertical line, see how our RTI entries are looking. So we get a dip here below the 50, nice move down. Cross above the 50 here. And that probably would have been a pretty good move. Eventually gets my 1%, not bad. Then we get a dip below the 50 about here. Eventually catch that move down. I'll move above the 50 here. That probably goes off here. Yeah, got my 1%. And then this one down below the 50 is a good entry for this short. So on the 80-20 approach, we get the big move down. Then we cross the 20 here. That's a nice move up. We exit the 80 value here, and that's probably going to be a decent move. You get the idea. So both approaches, the crossover on the 50 on the RTI and the 80-20 look pretty good for Jasmy. Any questions on this one?
Hey, CJ, more of an operational question. So when you set up your alerts and it triggers, then you go to Bybit or Binance or whatever exchange you're using and make the trade. And then do you just watch it, or do you set up the sell signal alert as well? So it's all manual, but do you just kind of watch it while it's doing its thing, or do you set up an alert to exit the trade?
That's a good question. I used to trade directly on exchanges, and so I trade on Bybit, which I have a sneaky way of getting on, and then BingX, which is a fairly new exchange to me anyway, about the last 4 or 5 months. So I can trade that as in the US without KYC for now. So if you want to trade leverage and you're fairly new to it, you might want to go with small leverage options on the BingX exchange. But to answer your question, I'm using more of an automated service that I don't usually talk about specifically in this Zoom, though I do talk about it in my next Zoom. But yeah, I just enter that as a manual trade on my trading software, which is similar to 3 commas. Some traders like to use that. But you could, if you don't want to deal with a third-party software, you could just go ahead and put alerts on TradingView as to where to make additional purchases if you want to go that route, or you can set up a stop loss if you want to use that approach, when you first set up your trade.
Okay, so you actually take these trades in the system you're going to talk about on the next call.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. But if I want to make a move if I'm looking for a move bigger than what I usually trade on the third-party system, I'll use BingX and set it up there. usually additional purchases and things like that for where I see it in the range.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. We're at about 35 minutes. Let's look at the Buddy coin crawler option with iCoinPro. So that's this entry, and I'm sorting by average low to SMA. The low is a 24-hour low for the coin. The SMA line is the red line you see between the Bollinger Bands on my charts. Usually looking for higher than 4 or 5%. That just tells me something's moving that day. So I'm going to look at my list here, and Rune we've already looked at. Maker 3%, not great. LPT, I've traded that before. It's at almost 4%. Let's check out that one. Okay, on the 5-minute, yeah, it's hanging around the SMA line, not a good entry. Could do a price entry down here on 643, between 640 and 644. That would be where I'd want to catch that on a price alert. On the 15-minute with our indicators, it's right in between the range. So I'd be looking for, on the crossing 50, there's a really good entry on Saturday night. Catches that move up. It drops here. Looks like that one's not as good. You get that drop here, and so you're probably still in that trade on early this morning. That's on the crossing 50 approach. On the 80-20 approach, cross that right about here and catch that move up. We get below 80. It's kind of hard to see. I don't know if that one would have triggered. This one does. And it's mostly sideways. Not a great entry. Would have had an additional purchase there, probably gotten out, around here with one additional purchase. So that's in about 7 hours. That's a pretty good day trade. And we have a dip below the 20 and across here. So that one still might be active. Would have gotten out there. So this LPT is actually moving because we make a little bit of move on this chart, and it's 2%. So good stuff there. So this one has potential. Okay, one advantage of relying more on one indicator like the RTI and then matching it up with, we got a 1, 2, 3 dip type trade on Rune. Let's look at that one. Okay, so this one touches the green zone, is coming back up. We've crossed above the 20 on the RTI, and we've got confirmation on the squeeze momentum as well. So it's not financial advice, but I'm taking this one. I'm going to do a quick entry on my trading software, which I'm not going to show you. Someday I will. And I'm in. We'll see how that one does. Any questions on anything we've talked about? iCoinPro, Altcoin Alert, the RTI, anything like that? All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. If you're watching on the recording, I appreciate that. Hope to see you live next time on Friday. If you are a Carbon member, you'll need to exit this Zoom call and use the link for the Monday call, and you can get on that way. I do believe I fixed the problem. Some people weren't able to get on Friday. I had had a scheduling issue with how I was doing my Zoom, so I think I've resolved that. If you're watching on the recording, please check out the opportunities in the pinned comment. They help support the channel. And have a good week of trading, you guys. Hopefully we'll see you Friday. Bye.